Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Profit Plays Live Show here on our YouTube channel. Joining me, as always, we have Trey Trends and Seth Stacks. We are back to break down some of the games for Saturday, the bigger games in college football. We also have the Dog of the Week. We won 3 of our 4 dogs last week and the Parlay Lock as well. We have hit 3 straight Parlay Locks for college football. Let's get right into it. We're going to break down 6 games, and we're going to start with Florida State, -2, over under 55.5 versus Clemson. Trey, who do you have in this one?
Yeah, this Florida State team's been really fun to watch, and this Clemson team has been almost unwatchable at times this season. And that's kind of what it's been like over their last 10 games, too. Florida State, 9-1 over their last 10, averaging 43.3 points per game over that span. Clemson, 6-4 over their last 10 games, averaging 31.6 points per game over that span. Florida State's averaging almost 12 points per game more than Clemson over their last 10 games, and I expect that to continue. Give me Florida State here on the money line in this game at -130. I think that's the perfect amount of juice for this game. Yes, Florida State, they have not beat Clemson since 2014 whenever Clemson had Deshaun Watson, but I expect them to buck that trend in this game. So I'm going Florida State on the money line.
Yeah, Trey, you look at this line and you immediately think it's a trap if you take Florida State. However, sometimes a line is just a line and you're just a person. You're not a rat. Florida State is a very good team. Clemson's not a very good team. We saw Duke in week 1 take Clemson. They scored 28 points on the Tigers defense, and Florida State's way better on offense than Duke Blue Devils. Jordan Travis and all those talented receivers are going to put up a big number on this defense, and the Clemson offense won't be able to keep up. The biggest part of this game also, it's a noon game, not underneath the lights. That gives Florida State a 5-point advantage just because this game's during the day. Don't get sucked into taking Clemson. Take Florida State, who is a way better team in this matchup. Florida State, -2.5 as my play. Seth?
Yeah, guys, and we are going to sweep the board with Florida State because I'm going to take their spread here as well. Florida State's going to be looking to bounce back here. They had a very sweaty win last week against Boston College, so I think they're going to come out pretty furious in this game. Clemson did not look good against Duke, like Bear said, and Florida State's going to own this game in the air and even on the ground because this Clemson team is not the same team we've seen in the past. I'm just going to go with Florida State here. They are going to prove that they are a top 5 team in this game. I'm going to fade Clemson probably as much as possible after how they looked against Duke in week 1.
Yeah, let's move right along to talking about teams that don't look the same. Ole Miss versus Alabama. Alabama -7, over under 55.5. Seth, I'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, guys, I really wanted to go against Alabama here with how bad they looked, but I can't do it. So I'm going to take them on the spread here. I brought some trends for us. Like I said, I know they haven't looked great, but we are getting into conference play now, and this is where Bama really, really is going to prove their worth. Bama has won 31 of its last 32 games against conference opponents at home. They've also covered the spread in 5 of its last 6 home games in the month of September. On the other side, Ole Miss has failed to cover the spread in 5 of its last 6 games against conference opponents. Due to these, I cannot go against Nick Saban and Alabama in a home conference game. It does look like Jaden Milroe will be getting the start again in this one, so I do think Alabama will win this game at home and cover the spread at -7.
Yeah, Seth, I'm going against you right away. I'm going to take Ole Miss with the points. I think Alabama's done. They can't find a quarterback. They're going back to Milroe, like you said, in this game. I do think that's the correct quarterback to be playing, but he's just not that good. And whenever people talk about betting against Alabama, they always say, well, it's Alabama. They're going to bounce back. They have been given many opportunities to bounce back from poor performances over the last 2 years, and they haven't been able to bounce back from anything. I just think the time for Alabama is done. The name does not strike fear in my heart like it did 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think the Ole Miss offense will be able to put up enough points on this Alabama defense to get it done. I haven't been impressed either with the Alabama offense at all. Ole Miss will get Zachary Franklin on the field as well for the first time this season, a transfer from UTSA. He is a monster on the outside, a touchdown spread, too many points for this Ole Miss offense. So I'm going to take Ole Miss +7. Trey?
Yeah, and I'm pretty pumped to watch this game. Alabama, they have not looked like the team or the machine, I guess, like they've been over the past handful of years. They only beat USF by 14 points last week. It was pretty eye-dropping to watch that game. And Ole Miss, they entered this game with a 3-0 record, and they beat some decent teams in Tulane and Georgia Tech last week. So give me Ole Miss here. I'm going to fade Alabama here. I'm going to take Ole Miss +7.5 in this game. I do expect Alabama to win this game. They're 1-2 at the moment against the spread, so that kind of worries me. But going up against this Ole Miss high-powered offense, I just do not think that they're going to be able to cover this touchdown spread here. So give me Ole Miss +7.5. Jackson Dart's going to be slicing and dicing up this defense.
Yeah, Trey. I'm actually gonna add Ole Miss money line. I think this is the game that Saban's career ends. I think Ole Miss takes down Alabama, and nobody talks about Alabama for the rest of the eternity. So I like Ole Miss on the money line there as well. Let's move on to one of the bigger games tomorrow: Colorado versus Oregon. Oregon minus 21.5, over under 70.5. Trey, I'll start with you.
Yeah, and I was talking to the guys yesterday, and I was originally going to pick Oregon to score over their team total in this game, but that came out at 45.5 total points, and I do expect them to get close to that. But the more and more I think about it, 21 points is just a lot for this Colorado offense. Just think about this. If Colorado gets the ball first and scores a touchdown, we have a 28-point cushion right there, 4-touchdown cushion. That's a lot of points for this Colorado offense. So I'm going to be taking them plus 21.5 in this game. I'm going to buy a half point here. It's at minus 123, which I absolutely love. I do expect Colorado to lose here, which is sad to say because I love what Prime's doing over there. But I do expect this to be their biggest test of the season, and they have another tough test next week. So they're going to be going through the grind here over the next couple of weeks. But preseason, Oregon's head coach said Colorado, they haven't won nothing yet. I don't know why everyone's talking about them, yada, yada, yada. So this game's now personal. So give me Colorado plus 21.5 in this game.
Yeah, before I give out a pick, I will say that despite my hatred towards what Colorado thinks they are, I do think that Deion Sanders coming into this program has saved the Colorado football program, and he's making an impact on these young men's lives. I think Deion Sanders is a great coach. He's going to continue to do great things at the program, but Colorado thinks that they're hot shit, and they just aren't that good. They are a fine team. They have a lot of talent on offense. They just aren't talented enough to compete with the other Pac-12 teams this year. If what I have seen the entire season continues this week, Oregon's going to put up 70 points on Colorado in this game. Colorado State last week should have beat Colorado on the road, and it was a perfectly coached game by Colorado State besides the last possession before overtime. They had a 4th and 1 on the 50 to put the game away, and they decided to punt. Colorado went down. They tied the game. They won in overtime. If they would have gone for that yard, Colorado only had one timeout, and they probably would have lost that game. That one play call is the difference between people still believing in Colorado and people making fun of Deion Sanders for wearing sunglasses at press conferences. I don't see any way that this team can keep up with Oregon. I think Oregon wins this game by multiple touchdowns, covering this spread by a lot. 28-35 point performance here from Oregon to win this one. So I'm going to go Oregon to cover this massive spread. Seth?
Yeah, I do think Colorado's win streak's going to come to a screeching halt, but I'm on the side of Trey with this one. I'm going to buy to plus 21.5. Guys, I get that Colorado's defense sucks. It is absolutely awful, but they can score, and they have proven they can score. They have proven they can score. They've been really good putting points on the board. I know they're going to be without Travis Hunter, but I mean, they still have Shadur Sanders going out there. I think they're going to keep this game somewhat close. I do think Oregon will end up pulling away towards the end. I think we could see them winning by 3 touchdowns, but that's why I'm buying to plus 21.5. I just don't see them winning by anything more than 21.
Let's continue to talk about this. Colorado offense has not looked that good. They scored a bunch against Nebraska, who they didn't score against in the first half. Nebraska just got tired. Colorado State, they didn't look that good. And the first game against TCU, we know TCU's bad. So I don't know, guys. I think that offense is not very good. And you take out Hunter, Wisconsin 20. Let's go, Wisconsin. I got Wisconsin at minus 6.5. So I do love Wisconsin right there.
No one knows.
Colorado. No one knows. Hey, you know what? I'm all alone. I'll lone wolf this game. I have no problem. I've been saying Colorado's due to upset a lot of people, so I am fine with lone wolfing with Oregon here. Let's move on, though. It's going to be Iowa versus Penn State for the next game. Penn State minus 14.5, over under 40.5. Trey, or no, 38.5 for the over under now. Trey, I'll start with you.
Yeah, talking about all these high-scoring offenses, I think it's a perfect transition to this Iowa team. This game should be an interesting game because Iowa's defense still has come to play this season. They're still the bend but don't break team. They are just elite still, but their offense is still lagging behind, but not as much as what it's done in the past. I expect this to be a drag 'em out game, so I'm going to be taking Iowa plus 14.5 in this game. I just think that's too many points because Iowa, their team total is also at 10.5. I think that's also too low, so I'm going to be jumping all over that in this game. I do think Iowa can easily put up 15 points in this game, and I just don't see Penn State scoring 30-plus points on this Iowa defense. So some quick math there. We'll say the Iowa plus 14.5 is a great pick here just because I don't know how many points Penn State's going to put up. And Iowa, they can put up at least 11 points. This is just disrespectful. Come on, guys. Cade McNamara is not all that bad. So those would be my 2 plays for this game. Iowa plus 14.5 and they're over 10.5 team total.
I don't know, Trey. I don't know if they can put up 11 points in this game. I'm not entirely sold on either of these teams. I don't think Iowa has a good offense. There hasn't been enough change over the last 3 games this season to prove that they're any better than last season on offense. If you put a gun to my head and said, which defense do you want in this game, I would lean towards the Hawkeyes. So I do think that 14.5 is too many points in this game. This is going to be a defensive battle the entire time. We might get a touchdown out of Penn State, but I would not be surprised at all if this game finishes like 12-9, classic Big Ten showdown. Give me the under 38.5 here. The book's challenging us with this under, so I'm going to take it. I just don't trust either of these offenses to go out there and do anything against the other defense. Under 38.5 will be my play, Seth.
Yeah, I was going to do you one better there, Bear. I think it's going to be more like a 10-6 game. I do think we are going to see a very low scoring game in this one. You say McNamara isn't that bad, Trey, but this Penn State defense had 4 interceptions last week. So I do think both of these defenses are going to come out, and this is going to be a super, super low scoring game. I do not like Cade McNamara, and I do not think this offensive coordinator at Iowa is going to be too happy when he doesn't get his contract extended because he can't average 25 points per game. So saying that, I do think this is going to be low scoring, so I like the under in this game.
Also, a little nugget. Cade in the first half against Western Michigan last game, I think he had 65 passing yards against Western Michigan in the first half. So he is bad. I don't think the Iowa can put up 11 points, but I do respect the pick there, Trey, going with that one. But let's move on. We have Ohio State -3 versus Notre Dame over under 65.5. Trey, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that's going to be my favorite game on the slate. I'm very pumped to watch this game. I'm very juiced. I expect Notre Dame to have a huge crowd behind them in this game. And I think it's going to fuel them throughout. So I'm going to buy a full point here. I'm going to take Notre Dame plus 4.5. It's at -128. I think it's the perfect amount of juice. I just like to get to that 4.5 number because that's a perfect differential of a touchdown and a field goal to avoid that 4-point number. I do expect this game to be really close, and I do expect Notre Dame to have a great chance to win it out at the end because Notre Dame, they have a better quarterback in this matchup, and that's something that we've never been able to say in the Notre Dame versus Ohio State matchup, probably since Brady Quinn was there. Sam Hartman, he just has dog mentality, and Kyle McCord, I think he's going to get shaken throughout this game by this Notre Dame Fighting Irish crowd. So give me Notre Dame here plus 4.5 in this game, and I'm going to buy a full point. Perfect amount of juice at -128.
Yeah, Trey, throw up Matthew's comment real quick. Iowa 38 points. I want whatever he's on tonight because if they score 38 points, we'll just give away the channel. Yeah, I do like that play, though, Trey. This is going to be one of the best games Saturday night for the entire slate of college football. This game has been marked on the calendar for me for a while now after I saw the opening day schedules. Last year, Notre Dame was supposed to be back under a new head coach, and they really stunk it up last year. This year, they are back, and they are a very good team with Sam Hartman leading the charge for the on the quarterback spot. He has turned this team into a juggernaut with his ability to lead the offense down the field and score on nearly every drive, while the defense has always been good. This will be a home game for the Fighting Irish, their biggest game of the season. They have one of the best defenses in the nation, a very good running game, and they have Sam Hartman leading the charge. I'm also not entirely impressed with McCord, the Ohio State quarterback this year. He has very good weapons to throw to, and that's where it stops with the town of Ohio State. You take those targets away from him, he's not a very good quarterback. This line is flipped in my mind. I think it should be Notre Dame -3, so give me the Fighting Irish on the money line. I think they make a statement in this game. I honestly don't think it's going to be close either. I think Notre Dame can take this by a couple of touchdowns. The Irish on the money line will be my play for that game. Seth, what do you got?
Yeah, and I'm right there with Bear. I am also taking Notre Dame on the money line in this game. Like he said, I am not high on Kyle McCord. His last 2 games, if you look at his numbers, they are extremely skewed because he went against Youngstown State and Western Kentucky. He struggled heavily in week 1 against Indiana, where he only had 239 passing yards with an interception. He has 2 projected top 15 prospects for targets, so he should be doing a lot better than that against an Indiana defense. Notre Dame's defense has been locked down to this point, or they rank 4th in total defense. Their run defense will have to be a little bit better in this game, as Ohio State does have 2 really good running backs, but I think at home they can shore this up. And my biggest thing here is Notre Dame had one key thing in the offseason, and that was going to get themselves a veteran quarterback that could lead this team. And I absolutely love Sam Hartman, and I love what he brings to this Notre Dame team. Give me Notre Dame on the money line here.
Yes, we're all on Notre Dame. Noah says Ohio State -3.5, first real challenge for Hartman. I will kind of agree with you on that, but again, Hartman's a veteran. Like Seth just said, he's been in these situations. He's a leader. I think he gets it done for Notre Dame. But I mean, if you're going to fade the public, Ohio State -3.5 is the play, I guess. But let's move on to the last game of the slate before we get into the dog of the week and the parlay lock. Oregon State -3, over under is 58.5 versus Washington State. Trey, I'll start with you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this game of late night Pac-12 action. That usually means fireworks, but both these teams are going to surprise a lot of people throughout this Pac-12 conference schedule. Oregon State, they're 3-0 so far, averaging 41 points per game. Washington State, 3-0 also, but they're averaging 48.3 points per game. I don't think a lot of people know just how great and elite this Washington State team is, especially their offense. This Cougars team, they beat Wisconsin by 9 points earlier this season, so I'm going to be taking them here as home pups. It's kind of disrespectful that they're home pups here. I do know that Oregon State is a pretty good team, but I'm going to be taking Washington State plus 3.5 in this game. Washington State, they're led by a stud, Cameron Ward. A lot of people know him by now.
Mhm.
He might be in the Heisman conversation by the end of the season. I expect him to have 4+ touchdowns in this game. So give me Washington State plus 3.5 and to possibly win this game outright at home.
Yeah, Trey, we are all on the same wavelength here. This is going to be another game. I think the line's flipped. I think Washington State takes this game. They have the better quarterback with Cameron Ward, has looked very good this season. He hasn't turned the ball over yet. And on the other side, we have DJ, who hasn't been as sharp as Cameron Ward. DJ's been turning the ball over a lot, and he's played weaker opponents than Cameron Ward. Washington State, like you said, they already beat number 19 Wisconsin, and Oregon State has not hardly played any competition this season. They beat San Diego State, and then they played 2 FCS teams, beating them. I think Washington State wins this game by throwing for 400+ yards in the air against Oregon State. Last season, Cameron Ward threw for 345 against Oregon State, and last week, Oregon State gave up 256 passing yards to San Diego State, a team who loves to run the ball and doesn't throw the ball a lot. I think the Washington State Cougars take this game as the dogs. I'm going to take them on the money line as my play. Seth?
Yeah, guys, I like Washington State here as well. I think one thing we know with Oregon State is that they can run the ball. Their running back, Damian Martinez, has had 3 straight games over 100+ rushing yards, but that's not going to cut it in this game against Washington State because Washington State can put points up and put points up in a hurry. I also don't mind the over total or 57.5 total points here either because I do think there's going to be quite a few points scored in this game, but I do like Washington State as the underdog here.
Yeah, there are a lot of juicy dogs this week with all the ranked matchups, but we're going to get into our dogs of the week. Trey, I'm going to have you start us off. We won 3 of 4. Noah gave out a winner. I gave out a winner. Seth gave out a winner. Trey, the last game of the night, Arizona State failed him, but he's already on the board. Trey, what's your pick for this week?
Yeah, like you said, last week I gave out Arizona State. They got killed, but I'm looking to flip that momentum because I'm going with Western Kentucky versus Troy. And I think Western Kentucky at plus 3.5, that's too many points. They should honestly be favored in this game. The only reason why they're dogs is probably because it's a road game for them going to Troy. But I love the Hilltoppers here as underdogs. They should easily win this game in my eyes because their offense, they're just so elite, and they should carry Western Kentucky to a victory here because Troy, they're 1-2 so far, and their only win was against an FCS team, and their 2 losses were against K-State and James Madison by an average of 15.5 points. And with Western Kentucky's offense being held in check last week by Ohio State, I think that they're going to be looking to come out booming in this game. They are my dog of the weekend. I think that they should be the favorite in this game. So give me 3.5 points. It's just too much. So I love their chance to win this game.
Yeah, Trey, I love that play as well. My dog of the week is going to be BYU to get 8.5 points. It is 8.5. I'm going to take them on the money line to be the dog against Kansas, plus 260. This should be a very entertaining game between 2 teams that have been able to move the ball at will this season on offense. BYU quarterback Slovis has been a solid option for them this season, being the transfer from USC 2 years ago and then transferring from Pittsburgh last year. He has done great things, throwing for nearly 700 yards and 6 touchdowns already this season. On the other side, we have Jalen Daniels, an electric player who's only thrown for 575 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He hasn't been doing a lot with his feet, though. If BYU keeps him in check with his legs, I think BYU takes this game. Kansas under Lance, the head coach, he's completely flipped this program upside down, becoming a very tough out in football now. He brought over that Matt Britt from Buffalo, and it is showing in the Big 12 so far for Kansas when he's been there. I just think BYU is a little bit better defensively than Kansas. I think the offense will be able to score on this Kansas defense. Should be a very entertaining game, down to the wire game. Give me BYU as my dog of the week. If you want to take them as a spread, I think that might be the best play of the week as well. So BYU as my dog this week. Seth?
Yeah, and I am going to take Notre Dame on the money line in their game against Ohio State at home. I said a lot of this in the game pick, but my favorite thing about Notre Dame is that they went out and got a veteran QB in Sam Hartman to lead them. Also, like I said, not very high on Kyle McCord here for Ohio State. He did not look good against Indiana. Notre Dame's at home. They have a top 5 defense in this game. They are also led by Sam Hartman and have a pretty high-powered offense. So just give me Notre Dame here on the money line.
Yeah, if you guys want to throw that in a parlay, I'm sure it'll be very juicy. But those will be our dogs of the week. Let's get to the parlay lock. We are 3-0 so far in the college football for our parlay locks. It's usually in the plus 1,000s, but this week we only have plus, 387. I'm going to go ahead and start here at the first play. I'm going to take Iowa State -2.5 against Oklahoma State. Neither team has looked great this season. And last week, Oklahoma State got absolutely railroaded by South Alabama, my dog of the week last week. Iowa State last week lost to Ohio by 3 points. And if you saw that game, the refs missed a clear field goal made by Iowa State. So that game might have gone to the overtime. We don't really know what the outcome would have been. But the big problem I have with Oklahoma State is that they can't get any offense going by running out 3 quarterbacks to try and move the ball. This is a very good Iowa State defense. And last week against South Alabama, OK State only put up 7 points. They don't have a guy on offense who can take the charge of this team, and that is going to put them behind the sticks in the entire game, for the entire game, this one. The defense of the Cyclones gets this done, and they finally take a home close game win. Iowa State gets it done -2.5. They run the ball against this team a lot, and they played solid defense winning this game. So that will be my parlay lock. Iowa State -2.5. Trey, what's your play?
Yeah, and we got Dennis in the chat saying no one's going to beat his OHIO State Buckeyes. He's predicting a 43-24 game. I'm hoping that that's not going to happen because my parlay lock is Notre Dame +7.5 in that game versus Ohio State. I talked about this game earlier, so I don't need to say a lot. I just feel like there's absolutely no way that Notre Dame loses this home game by a touchdown. This play is -190 on DraftKings, so it's a perfect cherry on top to this parlay. So give me Notre Dame to not lose by a touchdown here. I'm taking them +7.5 versus Ohio State.
Seth?
Yeah, and we all talked about this game earlier. I'm going to take Florida State -1.5. Like we said, Clemson did not look good against a ranked Duke team. They did beat up on some lesser competition, but Florida State had a very sweaty win against Boston College and barely pulled that one out of their hat. But they get to reset this week. A win's a win, and I think they're going to come out firing on all cylinders and put it to Clemson in this one. So give me Florida State -1.5 as my lock.
Yeah, that line, Seth, has a lot of people scratching their head. But don't be the rat here. I think Florida State's the right play as well, so I do love that play. Guys, that's going to do it for our live show tonight. We appreciate all you guys who tuned in and watched. Make sure you watch our videos tomorrow. We have an MLB video coming out. We have college football video coming out for our plays on Saturday. Also, check out the website, bearsprofitplays.com. We have a lot of free plays up for grabs. Thanks for being here, everybody that was. Thanks for the comments, and we will see you guys tomorrow on those videos. Everybody have a good night, all right? Peace out.